Okay, so I physically just got done with my workout. It's about 8:45. I've got the Cleveland Cavaliers game that I recorded going on in the background. I've got Ed Sheeran playing, keeping me calm. I've got my Fit Aid that I'm drinking that has a little bit of creatine in it to try to slow my breathing down. So if you see sweat dripping on the paper that I'm using, I'm sorry. So, first, I hope there's school tomorrow and that you're actually watching this on Thursday. If not, you still have a test the next day that we come back in. So you've seen the test. I absolutely was not lying when I said the test is the same as the review packet. So here, Gloria says the two expressions, this and this, are equivalent. Is she correct? And explain how you know. What you need to remember is equivalent means looks different, but has the same value. These clearly look different. So what do we need to do in order to see if they are equivalent? Well, we have to simplify them. So here's my first expression. Expression, remember, is a mathematical statement without an equal sign. So I'm taking 1/4 and I'm multiplying it by 20. You can physically do this in your calculator and do 1 divided by 4 multiplied by 20. So if you're like, I don't know what you mean, Mr. H, well, get your calculator. Do 1 divided by 4 multiplied by 20. That gives me 5. Well, it's not just 5, it's 5 x's. So I'm done with the first term in the parentheses. I still have to distribute to the positive 36. 1/4 times 36, if I multiply it across, 1 times 36 divided by 4 is positive 9. No x. Bring down your last term outside of the parentheses. Okay, so now we're combining like terms. 5x's minus 12x's leaves me negative 7x. We did not touch the coefficient or the constant of 9. So that's simplified. I cannot simplify it anymore. It's negative 7x plus 9. Okay, the second expression, I've got negative 7 out in front. Notice how I box in that negative as well. You have to include the negative or whatever the sign is out in front. Negative 7 times x is negative 7x's. Negative 7 times positive 2 is negative 14. Well, there's nothing else that I can combine. So now we're looking at these two. Is she correct? Gloria says their expressions are equivalent. Well, the negative 7's have the same value, but there's also a positive 9 and a negative 14. So I would say she is not correct because when they are simplified, they don't have the same value. Now, what I forgot to mention to you is, in case you've forgotten, is on the video, this is going to be tough to read. If you press the control button plus the shift button plus the button at the very top that I think is above the 3 or the 4, that is this, it's like a circle with an arrow. Uh-oh, my son's awake. Go back to sleep, buddy. Oh, go back to sleep, buddy. I don't want to start the video again. Go to sleep, man. Shh. See, we're good. But those will rotate your screen. Okay. Kilo, what are you doing, dude? And now my dog's playing with the kids' toys. Okay. So there's number 1. Number 2, a grocery store has advertised a sale on pizzas. Each carton of any flavor of ice cream costs $8.29. Well, that's awesome, Mr. H. let's say each pizza of any flavor of, let's actually change that to each box of any flavor of pizza, because we talk about flavors of pizza, right? Costs $8.29. So that's a typo. Oh well. So it says if Millie buys 1 pepperoni pizza and 1 meat lovers pizza, write an algebraic expression that represents the total cost of buying the, and it says ice cream. Should say pizza. Okay. The key here is the word algebraic expression. Algebraic expression means that it has to have variables. So I'm going to put pepperoni off to the side. I'm going to put meat lovers off to the side. Pepperoni is going to be P. Meat lover is going to be M. So the first one that I'm going to do is I'm going to show that $8.29 times one of the pepperoni pizzas plus one of the meat lovers pizzas. So this is distributing, right? This is saying, hey, doesn't matter how many boxes, one box, they're each going to be $8.29. Well, write an equivalent expression. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to distribute it. So this is my answer for one of them. But if I distribute it, another way to write the same thing as 829p plus 829m. They have the same value. Kilo. Shh. Don't you dare. Nope. Buddy, please don't wake the boy. And this is the life of Mr. H's house late at night. So, as I was saying, I distributed 829p plus 829m is equivalent. They have the same value, but they look different. So, explain how the expressions are equivalent. They have the same value, but look different. So now I'm done with numbers 1 and number 2. Okay, number 3. A new park was designed to contain 2 circular gardens. Garden A has a diameter of 100 meters. So diameter all the way across. 100, and that's circle A. Garden B has a diameter of 120 meters. Okay. If the gardener wants to outline the gardens in edging, so if it's outlining it, that's the circumference. So it's going around. Outline means going around something. How many meters will be needed to outline the smaller garden? Well, this is 120. This is the smaller garden here. We have the diameter. Circumference equals pi times d. When it says write in terms of pi, another way of saying that is keep it exact. And when we say exact, pi is a number, but we can't tell you exactly what pi is because the decimal never ends. So the only way to keep it exact is with this symbol. So when I substitute in of my smaller garden, I'm taking pi, I substitute in the diameter. If you left this for me, you would be incorrect. Remember, I want pi after everything. When we're dealing with circumference, the unit stays the same. So the circumference is 100 pi meters, but that's not what the question asked. How many meters were needed to outline the smaller garden? We will need 100 pi meters of edging. And if you wanted to put to outline, that's fine. To outline the smaller garden. Alexa, volume up. I couldn't hear my Ed Sheeran song. Okay, so keep your sentence with it. C5. Inside the mountain. So maybe what you didn't know is Mr. H is a very big fantasy and geek at heart, and Tolkien is one of Dad's, I'm so used to talking to Cole, is one of Mr. H's favorite writers. And I was very disappointed when The Hobbit came out in the 3-part movie, but this song is from the Hobbit movies, and it's a great song. So, how much more edging will be needed for the larger garden than the smaller one? Well, we already know how much edging is needed for the smaller. So I'm going to put over here, smaller equals 100 pi meters. So now, circle B, we're going to do the same thing. C equals pi multiplied by 120. So we know that it's 120 pi meters. So now, to figure out the difference in it, 120 pi minus 100 pi. Oop, Alexa, volume down. So pi minus pi, 3.14 minus 3.14 is 0. 120 minus 100 is 20. The meters stays. And you might be saying, Mr. H, I don't quite understand that. Well, if we had 8 times 6, subtracting 3 times 6, these 6's would actually go away, and that would just really leave me with, nah, it wouldn't. That's a bad example. Let me do something here real quick. This is the answer that Engage New York wants. Keep it like that. So, we're going to go here, and we're going to say they would need 20 meters more. Okay? I don't know why Engage New York wants this way, because I did it the last time and I questioned it, but Engage New York said this is the answer. It's not, but we're going to go with that. Okay. The gardener wishes to put down weed block fabric on the 2 gardens before the plants are planted in the ground. How much fabric will be needed to cover the area of both gardens? So now we're doing A equals pi r squared for both. Okay. So when we look up at these circles, we have a problem though. We have the diameter and we need the radius. To find the radius of both, we have to divide the diameter by 2. 100 divided by 2 is 50. 120 divided by 2 is 60. So now I have pi multiplied by 50 squared for the smaller, pi multiplied by 60 squared for the larger. So now I've got A equals, get your calculator, 50 squared is 2,500 pi. Over here, and that's really 2,500 pi meters squared. And 60 squared is 3,600 pi meters squared. So now when we add these, we're gonna have 3,600 pi plus 2,500 pi. Pi stays, 0, 0, 1, bring the 1, 6,100. I'm gonna double check because you will have your calculators. It would help if I put in the correct numbers. 3,600 plus 2,500 leaves me with 6,100 pi meters squared. Well, still need to write the answer. So how much fabric will be needed? We will need 6,100 pi meters squared worth of fabric. Okay. Questions on number 3? I mean, you can say yes, but I'm not there. So you can ask the sub. We'll see how that works. But I will be there Friday morning. Okay. That takes care of 1, 2, and 3. 1,000 stars. A play court on the school playground is shaped like a square joined by a semicircle. The perimeter around the entire play court is 240 feet, and 125 6/10 feet of the total perimeter comes from the semicircle. What is the radius? So we're only looking for half of the semicircle. Use 3 14/100 for pi. So listen, the perimeter is another way of saying circumference. We're looking for r. So that's 2 times pi times r. But we have a problem. This isn't a full circle. This is how we would find the circumference of a full circle. So instead of doing that, we have to divide the full circle by 2. So now we need to get rid of this diameter. So before we do anything else, do we know the circumference of half of a circle? Sure, it's right there. So in place of C, because it's talking about perimeter is another poor way of saying circumference, we can place in this number here, because that's what's coming from the semicircle. So now we can start to get rid of the denominator. 2 divided by 2 is 1, but we need to take that to the other side. So I'm going to take 125 6/10 multiply it by 2. That gives me 251 2/10 equals 2 pi r. You might be saying, Mr. H, is that the only way to do it? No, but I'm going to stick to what we know right now. Mr. H, though, wait a minute. It says 3 14/100 for pi. Oh. So let's rewrite 251 2/10 equals 2 times 3 14/100 r. Well, I know that 251 2/10, 2 times is 6 28/100 r. So I can divide by 6 28/100. And if you're confused on how I got 6 28/100, I multiplied that 2 by what was pi, 3 14/100. So 251 2/10 divided by 6 28/100 leaves me with 40. So r equals 40. So I would say the radius is 40, feet. Well, that's wonderful. Okay, so now I have my answer here. The next question says the school wants to cover the play court with sports court flooring using 3 14/100 for pi. So we're using this for pi. If we're covering the court flooring, that's the inside. That's what we would consider the area. So how many square feet of flooring does the school need to purchase to cover the play court? Well, if the radius is 40, so this is 40, what does this distance have to be? Well, if the radius is half the diameter, so if this is 40, this is 40. So that means all of these sides are 80. Okay, we need that because to find the area of a square, it's length times width. So the area of the square is 40. Start again, Mr. H. Length is 80 multiplied by 80. So the area of the square, 80 multiplied by 80, is 6,400 feet squared. If you're wondering, the Cavaliers are playing fantastic, which doesn't happen often because they're really not good. So there's my square, and now I need my semicircle. Remember, it's a semicircle, so I'm going to start with the full circle. So to do the full circle, it's a equals pi r squared. A equals pi times 40 squared. So 40 squared, 1600 times 3.14 gives me, wow, gives me a whole number. That's awesome. So my area is 5,024 feet squared. But that's the full circle. To get the half, we have to divide by 2. So I take the full circle and I divide it by 2. That leaves me with 2,512 feet squared. So now I have the semicircle and I have my square. So take your square plus your semicircle, 2,198. And that gives me 8,912 feet squared. Remember though, I want it as a word problem, so I want it as a sentence. How many square feet? The school needs 8,912 feet squared of court flooring. Okay. So that takes us through number 4. Okay. So I'm going to make mention of this today. I saw a lot of people starting this question great. I saw a lot of you saying, hey, I know no matter what kind of angles they are, it's going to equal 180 because it's a straight line. Perfect. And then I saw some people have no clue what to put in here. And that's all right. ABC has a measure of 1/6 of CBD. Well, do we know either? No. But we know that this one is 1/6 of this. So because we need one of those two angles, don't fall. I'm going to make CBD X. This has 1/6 of the measure, so that's 1/6 of X. So now I can write 1/6 of X plus X. Now, hint, hint, hint for your test. 1/3, you cannot round because it doesn't want you to round, okay, on your test. I'm asking you to round to the nearest hundredth, which is fine. But I want to keep these as fractions. So I have 1/6 X and I have 1X. Well, 1/6 plus 1 is 7/6 of an X. How did you get that? Well, 1 is really 6 over 6. 1/6 plus 6/6 is 7/6 X equals 180. Well, Mr. H, how do I get rid of this fraction? We're not getting rid of it. We're multiplying by the reciprocal. This is the multiplicative inverse property. If you remember, when we multiply by the inverse, it becomes 1. 1 what? Well, we're looking to isolate that variable, so it leaves me with 1x. And now I can take my calculator and do 180 multiplied by 6 divided by 7. And it does say round to the nearest hundredth. So when I look at this, 8's the hundredth, but I have to look to the thousandth, which is the 5. The 5 says to round the 8 up. So x is 154 and 29 hundredths. Okay, so that's the measurement of angle CBD. So now it says if the measure of angle CBD is 2x minus 4, so 2 times the quantity of x minus 4, that angle measure, this is 154 and 29 hundredths. I distribute. We're solving an equation. So remember, we're multiplying. 2 multiplied by x is 2x minus 8 equals 154 and 29 hundredths. So when we isolate, we move the constant first by adding 8. Notice where I lined that up, because really that's 8 and 0 tenths, or 0 hundredths. You have to line up the decimals. You can't put the 8 over there with the 9. So you have a calculator. You won't probably be doing this longhand, but it's still good to remember how we line up the decimals. So then we divide by 2, x equals, so 162 and 29 hundredths divided by 2. So again, I'm rounding the nearest hundredth. So 5 rounds this up, which gives me 81 and 15 hundredths. There's number 5. Okay, put that paper underneath it. I'm going to grab the other paper. more sip of a drink. Oh yeah, the Cavaliers are crushing them. They're up by 20. It's 96-76. I mean, the Hawks are just as bad as the Cavaliers, but it gives me faith that they're winning a game. Again, I think they've won like 12. And I do watch every single game, so it's nice to see that they're actually winning. That was delicious. Okay. So the dimensions of an above-ground rectangular pool are 30 feet long, 14 feet wide, 8 feet deep. Rectangular pool, above ground. Okay. So it's going to look like a dumpster. Not quite sure why you have a rectangular above-ground pool, but whatever. So here's my dumpster pool. I've only ever seen circular above ground pools, but what do I know? So now I've got 30 feet long, 14 feet wide, and 8 feet deep. Okay, so it's a rectangular prism. How much water is needed to fill it? I'm putting something inside of my three-dimensional figure that stands for volume. So now volume we know is length times width times height. Well, remember, first thing always, excuse me, is to label length, width, height. Please do not just put it into your calculator, because if you don't show work and you miss it, I can't give you any credit at all. Excuse me. So my length is 30. My width is 14. And my height is 8. Something smells delicious in my house. Not even delicious, it just smells, something smells good. I don't know what that is. So now I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna go 30 multiplied by 14 multiplied by 8. That gives me 3,360. If we're doing volume, you need to remember that it's feet cubed. So this question that's next, feet cubed is the same as saying a cubic foot. There's 3,360 cubic feet in the pool. So now this should make a little bit more sense. Again, I've told you many times, Engage New York is not always just about the math. It's also about reading comprehension. So if there are 9 3/35 gallons in 1 cubic foot, and remember we have 3,360 cubic feet in the pool, how many gallons are needed to fill the pool? So now we're gonna go 3,360 multiplied by 9 3/35. And you might be saying, Mr. H, why are you lining the decimal up like this? Well, in multiplication, you don't need to care about where the decimal's lining up, okay? Now, I'm also not going to do it longhand. 3,360 multiplied by 9 3/35. Wow, that's a lot of gallons of water. So that gives me 31,416 gallons. Okay, so I made a mistake in letter A. What did I forget to do? Well, you're probably saying nothing. You got the right answer. Yeah, I know I got the right answer. How much water is needed to fill the pool? The pool needs 3,360 feet cubed of water. So now I can say the pool needs 31,416 gallons to fill the pool. Okay? Remember, keep it with sentences. Kilo. Shh. My dog is whining. My wife's eating something and he wants food. It's like we never feed him, even though he's just dandy. He's fine. After the leak was repaired, it was necessary to lay in a thin layer of concrete to protect the sides, not the bases of the pool. Calculate the area to be covered to complete the job. We do not need the base. The base is the length times the width. Well, we already don't have the top of a pool because that's where the water is. So Surface area of a pool is 2 times length times width plus 2 times length times height plus 2 times width times height. If we don't have the top of the pool, well, we don't need that 2. If we don't need the bottom of the pool, we don't need the length times the width. Well, when we don't have the bases, it's called lateral area, 2 times L times H plus 2 times W times H. Well, let's substitute in. We've still got everything labeled up here. 2 multiplied by 30 multiplied by 8 plus 2 times 14 by 8. So lateral area, remember I want to see the work. So that's 60 times 8. And if you're wondering why, Mr. H, why'd you just go 60? Because 2 times 30 is 60. So that's 480 plus 16 times 14. And again, 16, 2 times 8 is 16. Gives me 224. Add those up. Plus 480. Leaves me 704. Well, area, okay? Area is around. That's the feet squared. Am I done? No. You need, calculate the area. Not you need, the area to complete the job is 704 feet squared. And last, but certainly not least, Gary. Oh, Gary. He's learning about mosaics in art class. His teacher passes out small square tiles and encourages the students to cut the tiles up in various angles. Gary's first cut looks like this. I'm assuming this is a cut, I'm assuming that's a cut. I don't really know, but all that matters is this right angle. Here's his 2 angles and this right angle. We need to know that a right angle adds up to 90 degrees. No matter what, it's a 90-degree angle. That's what a right angle is. So write an equation using angle TIL and LIE. So I'm going to say 5M, which is TIL, plus M plus 30, which is LIE, equals 1/8. No, it doesn't, Mr. H. Stop. Equals 90. So here's my equation. This is how I'm relating them, because I know that the sum of those 2 angles equals 90. So, solve for M. So I'm going to rewrite that equation. And I'm not going to lie, listen, if you miss letter A, you're going to miss letter B, which means you're going to miss letter C, which means you're going to miss letter D. So at least show me work, okay? Because if you just give me an answer for this, an answer for this, an answer, you're going to miss it. First step, combine like terms. 6M plus 30 equals 90. Use the inverse operation to move your constant. 6M equals 60. Divide by 6. M equals 10. TIL is 5M. Well, M is now 10, so I multiply 5 times 10. I would say the measure of angle TIL equals 50 degrees. LIE is M plus 30, so we substituted in here. I'm substituting in here. So now I have 10 plus 30. That gives me the measure of angle LIE equals 40 degrees. If you have any questions whatsoever, I will be in on Friday morning. I think Miss Armstrong will be in on Friday morning. Unfortunately, because I have a meeting until 3 o'clock, which is why I'm not here at central office, I will not be after school, nor will Mrs. Armstrong. So feel free to email me any questions. You can email me throughout the day as you're checking this. Good luck, folks.